Blanchett. She's in it.
It's the Eli Roth family film.
Yes, check it out. Like I said, it's another one that is pretty cool for introducing your younger viewers. If you have a niece or nephew or children, our listeners, check that out. It's a little creepy at times, but it's nothing that's gonna terrify children. But it's definitely fun to watch. Definitely recommend it. I feel like it was a Jack Black's redo at the Goosebumps movies, if that makes sense.
yeah.
I definitely got that type of feel from this one, but at a way better like production value and just feel overall for the whole film. I feel like it's way better. So don't let me comparing it to Goosebumps deter you from watching that if you haven't seen it yet. I'm just saying it's like that but way better. If that makes sense to anybody, check it out. Jack Black's in it. Like I said, Kate Blanchett is in it. Both of them are really great. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So those are my two movies. Some kid-friendly Halloween movies and series.
Very nice. For this one, I just have because we're talking about The Howling. I thought it was only right to drop another 80s, kind of overlooked 80s werewolf film, and it's called Silver Bullet.
I've never heard of that one.
Oh, okay. So it's stars Gary Busey and Corey Haim, and it's from 1985. It basically spins the tale of the werewolf premise, but through the eyes of a kid who's kind of paranoid. He's handicapped. He's in a wheelchair, right? And this is Corey Haim, who would later on go to do The Lost Boys, the main character of one of the main characters of The Lost Boys. But yeah, so he's in a small town, and there's all of these attacks start happening, and nobody really knows like what's going on, right? And because how kids are, or they used to be at least, kids are nosy or take on like this detective persona. That's what kind of happens here, where his character starts to like figure out that there might be a werewolf in the town, and it just becomes kind of like a whodunit.
Okay.
But with the werewolf premise, and of course, because it's in the 80s, it has Gary Busey, like prime Gary Busey, which he's fucking awesome as the uncle. I definitely, if you haven't seen this, it just celebrated its 36th year anniversary, I believe. Just the other day. It's available on AMC, so you could probably catch it on basic cable, or if you have AMC Plus, you can watch it anytime you want, as it is streaming, or you can get it on demand. Very fun movie, especially because it's rated R, so it doesn't shy away, even though it's kind of plays with like the kids narrative. It's very visceral and violent, the way that most 80s movies were, you know. For you specifically, I would say show this to Jordan if you get the chance. I think he'd really enjoy it.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now for the movie focus of the week.
Yeah, and without further ado, we can jump into our main focus if you're ready.
Alright, let's do it.
Alright, so in part 2 of our double bill, we're talking about The Howling. It's rated R. It's from 1981. It's a horror creature feature. It runs at 1 hour and 31 minutes, and it's got a 72 on Rotten. It's written by John Salas, directed by Joe Dante, starring Dee Wallace, Patrick Macney, Christopher Stone, Robert Picardo, Elizabeth Brooks, Nick Miller, Kevin McCarthy, Dennis Dugan, Belinda Balaski, and Jim McReal. The Howling tells the story of an LA newscaster who is assaulted while helping the police to catch a notorious serial killer. After she escapes unharmed, she does suffer memory loss and continues to deal with night terrors from the trauma of her incident. This prompts her to take in advice from her therapist and go on a much-needed therapy vacation with her boyfriend. However, when they arrive to the secluded location and meet the patients, it's made clear that something isn't right. The Howling is based upon the 1977 novel of the same name, although director Joe Dante did add more of a satirical tone to his film adaptation, something that wasn't uncommon for the director, as he was known for this style with his first picture, Piranha. Although The Howling was a financial success when it was released in March of 1981, grossing just over $17 million against a $1 million budget, it did have the unfortunate luck of being released within the same year as John Landis's An American Werewolf in London. As many of the genre fans are aware, this werewolf flick is held up as possibly the greatest film to ever dabble into the mythology of the lycanthrope. With that being said, The Howling does stand out with its special effects, which were done by Rob Bottin, who was able to acquire the job after the legendary Rick Baker left to pursue work on An American Werewolf in London. Crazy. The intense and gruesome transformation scenes would eventually help director Joe Dante and his producer Michael Fennell get the opportunity of a lifetime with what would be Gremlins in just a few years. The Howling is oozing with suspicious characters throughout, and Dee Wallace, as our main character Karen, does an amazing job given she's never quite reaches that final girl stage we're expecting to see unfold as the film's climax approaches. Instead, we see our expectations are completely subverted as a huge conspiracy unravels. Overall, the film has some pacing issues as it starts off strong and drags a bit, but if you hang in there, the film has enough fun and substance to win you back. With its early 80s gore and hypersexuality, it's a perfect setup for what would come on down the road later on. Thank you.
Nice, very nice.
So, man, I know for this one, it was your first time watching, correct?
Yeah.
Any thoughts out of the gate?
Definitely an 80s movie, that's for sure. I'd agree with everything that you said, how you described it, with the gore and the hyper sexuality. That is definitely a staple, I guess you would say, in 80s horror.
Yes.
But yeah, I enjoyed this. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. I haven't. I've seen from some of the Instagram accounts that I follow here and there. I have seen pictures and stuff and posters from the film, but I had never seen it before. Never known what it really was. I knew it was some type of werewolf film, but that's about it. I've seen a poster here and there. So this was definitely a fresh watch for me. I had no idea what it was about, aside from the little description from when I rented it on Apple or iTunes or whatever. But that was about it. Like I said, really enjoyed this one. Dee Wallace, what else is she in? Because I feel like I've seen her in something.
Oh yeah, she's in Cujo. She's in E.T.
E.T. Okay, see, I when she was talking, I was like, man, the voice and her face looks so familiar. I couldn't, remember where I've seen her from, but I knew I saw her in something else that was really big. So yeah, in Cujo, yeah, I remember her in Cujo also. But yeah, I really like this. Her boyfriend, is it her boyfriend? Christopher Stone or Bill? Is he supposed to be her boyfriend or her husband?
Doesn't he? Well, I may have got that wrong. Does he when that one chick is trying to seduce him, when they get to the colony, he says, "I'm looking for my wife," correct? Okay,
yeah, that's right. Yes, he does say that.
Yeah, and she's like, "Why?"
yeah. man, he's like an asshole once he becomes once he gets bitten.
Yeah, it's like
He's like zero fucks, and then he just gets with that girl, with the lady, the fucking the leather lady, whatever her name is, Marsha. I just remember specifically remember her because she's wearing like a leather bodysuit.
yeah, Marsha Quist. So I think she ends up being related to the serial killer, I believe, because his last name is Quist as well. But yeah, what did you? Let's talk about the story.
Yeah, let's do it.
A little bit. So what I like about this is that it's kind of grounded in the world of newscasting and journalism.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty refreshing and cool, the way that they, Karen Dee Wallace's character is kind of struggling with trying to keep up this persona, and they make that known throughout the film, where everybody, like, when she meets somebody new, they're like, hey, you're famous, aren't you? Like that type.
Yeah.
Every time, it never fails. And then she's trying to deal with, of course, because, and I can't believe that the police or whoever set up that janky ass sting.
Oh my god, yeah, that was horrible. They're like, oh, but we lost her,
Yeah. I was just like, come on, you guys. Like, that's terrible. That could have went, it pretty much did go wrong. So, she agrees to do this fucked up kind of sting to get this trap this known serial killer. So she goes into this porn shop, and this is right as we start the film. She goes into this porn shop and goes back into the arcade booths, I guess, and meets up with this guy, and he's obviously very looming, very sketchy, and of course we don't know this at the time, or you're not supposed to know this, but he starts to transform on her. Probably his motive is to kill her, or he would have. He starts to change, and she develops amnesia. The cops run into the porn shop, and they think that they kill this guy, which we later find out that they didn't, because they shot him with regular guns. So they
silver bullets.
Yeah, they just put him down temporarily. And it's funny because of course it's done on purpose so we don't know what's going on, but as he's changing, the cops run in, and he really hasn't assaulted anyone yet, and one of the guys just pulls out his pistol and fires automatically without assessing the situation or not.
Yeah, he could have. When you think about it, when that situation happened, I'm like, he could have literally just killed Karen.
Yep.
Like, because he hears her scream, and all he does is pull out his pistol, his revolver, and empties it into the door. And the other cop's like, he's like, "What the hell are you doing? Put that away." Yeah, that could have been. It could have went really. Could have went south pretty quick.
It's funny because it's like that's something that the police are still struggling with now.
Yeah.
Happy. What's the term?
Trigger happy.
Yeah, trigger happy. Right. Shoot first, ask questions later, and it's a terrible thing. But anyway, going back to the story, Karen, of course, she's super upset over this, but she also can't remember what was what happened to her.
Yeah, she remembers up to that point, and then everything is blank, and then she said she remembers walking out of the building. Yeah.
So they because she's famous, they want to put her on the news and have her kind of relive this horrific event, and she tries to do it, and she ends up pretty much
having a panic attack or something.
A breakdown where they have to stop the show, and then
did you hear the editor when he's talking to, I guess, the higher ups when they're on the phone? He's like, "Yeah, I don't know, maybe she's pregnant or something."
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck? Really? Okay.
Yeah, no.
That's where we were at back in the 80s. Okay.
Yeah, very, like, no empathy whatsoever.